All aboard for Night Train. Night Train.
Night Train Lane's story is an amazing story. It's like something out of a fairy tale. Goes 1 year to a little junior college in Nebraska. Goes in the Army. Plays for an Army team at Fort Ord. He's a wide receiver, scores 18 touchdowns in one season. He's discharged from the Army, goes back to Los Angeles and gets a job at an aircraft factory. And it's dirty, dreary, monotonous work. And he hates it. But every day, his bus takes him past the offices of Los Angeles Rams. So one day, totally on a whim, he gets off the bus, walks in the office, and says, I want to try out.
The number 4 single-season performance of all time, Dick Night Train Lane's 14 interceptions in 1952.
I always played from outside in, so I could see the quarterback.
There were plenty of fads throughout the 1950s, but in 1952, rookie cornerback Dick Night Train Lane was the real deal.
He picked off 14 passes in one season, and that was a 12-game season.
He was the first defensive back, really, I think, that baited quarterbacks and receivers into throwing the ball.
Night Train had the ability to do the bait and switch.
I always played from outside in, so I could see the quarterback. I always felt they just throw the ball to the open spot. I would go get it.
He would play off, and he was so quick and had such great athletic skills, the opposing quarterback would look and say, oh, geez, the guy's uncovered. And at that moment, Night Train would break for the ball. Night Train would break for the ball, and that's why he got so many interceptions in his rookie year.
While our number 2 most feared tackler preferred to make ball carriers earn their wings, this locomotive could pull the Lions to victory in a variety of ways. His 14 interceptions in a single season is still a record.
I always played from outside in. I always played from outside in, so I could see the quarterback. So I could see the quarterback. So I could see the quarterback. So I could see the quarterback.
The number 2 most feared tackler of all time, Night Train Lane.
Number 2. They rip him up.
Look out, Daniel! Oh! Touchdown!
They rip him up.
They never knew for sure where he was going to be or what he was going to do.
The play is diagnosed perfectly by Night Train Lane.
Receivers don't like to go across the middle. I don't think they wanted to go across the middle with Night Train.
Definitely the best hitting corner I've ever seen. He certainly would be up there in the top 5 if you're talking about lists.
Well, Night Train's signature move was take your head off.
They rip him up.
Rugged defense has been the trademark of Detroit Lion teams.
If you don't hit him right, you break your elbow, your arm or something, you know. So you got to really get him right in front of him and hit to rip him up.
The Night Train necktie was just what we call a clothesline today. You have to understand, back then a lot of things weren't illegal.
When he came into the league, they had just started to introduce face masks. And he figured out early on that if you grabbed the guy here and yanked him down, you possibly could put him out of the game.
Holy mackerel!
He finally brought in the rule that eliminated the clothesline and the face mask. I mean, those 2 rules were really a direct result of the way Night Train played.
They rip him up. They rip him up.
For 14 seasons, our number 4 pick showed an aggressive playing style with the Rams, Cardinals, and Lions, and became one of the most feared players in the game.
He was a devastating hitter. He could deliver a blow that made receivers fear him.
The pass is good to McElhenney, but bang!
He was one of the few players that hurt you every time he tackled you.
But bang!
I mean, the guy would grab you by the neck. He would bring you down any way he could by the face mask.
And he was the reason that they made the outlaw the face mask. There were 2 years in Night Train's career. He didn't make a tackle below the jawline.
Some people call it a clothesline. It became known as the Night Train necktie. It was just that. I mean, he would hit guys with his arm under the chin and lay him out. Did it all the time.
You can understand what it was. He had this forearm that would come up from behind and pull you down right around your neck.
If the rules of today were in effect when Night Train Lane played, he would have been fined more than he earned.
When street corner harmonies were cool, the hottest sounds in pro football were being made by a player with a most unique nickname.
Night Train.
Number 81, Dick Night Train Lane, played cornerback for the Cardinals, Lions, and Rams in the 50s and 60s. A dazzling, versatile athlete, the Train was a locomotive who pulled his teams to victory in a dramatic variety of ways. As a rookie with the Rams in 1952, he intercepted 14 passes, still the highest single-season total in NFL history. In desperate times, the Chicago Cardinals deployed their star defender as a receiver. One result was a 98-yard touchdown, the longest in team history.
When you're talking about Night Train Lane, you're talking about, in my book, the greatest defensive back that ever played the game.
Night Train is the first corner man that I ever saw in the National Football League that could play the bump and run.
We had so much, felt so much toward the Night Train Lane that he came out in one ball game and said, "I don't even want you throwing the football over that side." I said, "You can't go into a ball game and give a guy a free ride. You just can't do that." But he said, "Don't throw it."
While Lane made Unitas pay dearly for defying Coach Reed Eubank, he often defied conventional behavior himself by wearing astronaut clothing and displaying a far-out personality. Night Train's tackles were anything but funny. His motto was "Hang 'em high," and his signature hits were more like stranglings or beheadings.
I know when he went to the Detroit Lions, and the opponent at that time, you got to think about it because he hurt you.
Oh, he'd kill you. Kill you. He wouldn't tackle you necessarily fair. It wouldn't be a fair tackle. They made a head tackle an outlaw because of Night Train Lane. Train would just reach and grab him by his neck, pull him down, and that's called the Night Train neck tackle.
He'd grab your face mask. I remember somebody speaking to Train about it. Train said, "I'll grab him by his eyebrows if that's the way I can get him down."
Because if you don't hit him right, you break your elbow, your arm or something, you know. So you got to really get him right in front of you and hit him with that forearm and rip him up.
However, his love for hitting led to hateful mistakes. Sometimes he even traded punches and lost. The meek did not inherit this term, and opponents went to any extremes to pay him back, to rub him out. Perhaps this one play reveals Lane's greatness, his competitive fire. For Night Train Lane never gave up, never quit on a play. In the slang of the times, he bopped till he dropped.
Probably even playing today, Night Train Lane would be as good as any cornerback in football. He had to be the prototype for what an NFL cornerback should be.
He was one of the few players that hurt you every time he tackled you, Butkus being the other one.
Night Train Lane was the hardest hitter of any defensive back in pro football history, and arguably the greatest player at his position. Now this free agent who once hung 'em high hangs himself in the Hall of Fame.
Johnny Unitas and the Colts try to come from behind, but Dick Night Train Lane derails the attempt.
I always played from outside in, so I could see the quarterback. I always felt they just throw the ball to the open spot. I would go get it.
But while Night Train's picks are in the record books, he made the most impact when he made impact. His methods may have been harsh, but over 50 years later, Dick Night Train Lane's record of 14 interceptions in one season still stands.
And probably 50 years later, you could honestly say there's nobody that's done it better.
I always play from outside in. I always play from outside in, so I could see the quarterback, so I could see the quarterback, so I could see the quarterback, so I could see the quarterback.
The number 2 most feared tackler of all time, Night Train Lane. Number 4 single-season performance of all time, Dick Night Train Lane's 14 interceptions in 1952.